In this practice, we're going to be following up from a Dharma talk that we had about the koshas. You can see that Dharma talk here. And one thing I mentioned repeatedly in that Dharma talk was that our journey may seem like it's going inwards through the layers of the koshas to kind of pierce through the mental challenges that obscure us from really deeply knowing who we are. And while the journey does appear to be that way, there is also a reciprocal and bi-directional journey of, as we pierce through that mental stuff and we glimpse our indwelling nature, it begins to shine back out through every layer of the koshas. And so it's a bi-directional, not unidirectional pathway, this thing called yoga. And today's practice is to help you understand that using practices called Surya Bedhana and Chandra Bedhana. The word Bedhana means to pierce. So let's see how this goes for you. And as always, if practices are helpful to you, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and leave me questions and comments down below. Okay, let's enjoy the practice together. Namaste. Welcome for practice. I'm going to focus this practice on what I'll call piercing the veil or piercing through the Manomaya kosha. You can have that view of what is deeper than mental habit and deeper than self-perception. So we'll start with a period of sitting quietly to settle in, and then we'll engage in the pranayama practices that help to take us through. And the word piercing is important in the phrase that I'm using, to pierce the veil or to pierce through. In this case, it'll be the moon, the word Bedhana. We'll practice Surya Bedhana and Chandra Bedhana so you can get a sense of those two practices. We'll also be exploring Nadi Shodhana. You can get a sense of how that will help to take you through the mental mumbo jumbo and into a place of tranquility and integration. Okay, let's see how it unfolds. Rest your hands in your lap and you're welcome to close your eyes. And when you come into your seat, lengthen up through the crown of your skull and sit in the center of your pelvis. Allow your shoulder blades to drop down your upper back and lift the center of your heart. And when you first come into your seat, see if you can just simply connect to what is happening, like what is the Ferris wheel of your mind about right now? What are the nature of the passengers in the buckets on the Ferris wheel going around? And see if you might kind of get to know what's happening without feeling like you're all merged with it or you're entangled in it. Observe what's going by in the train of your mind. And gently lift the base of your skull. So your gaze is going to go a little bit more down and towards your heart, and the front of the throat will have a quality of tone to it. And welcome your breath to drop down into your seat, into the pelvic basin, I like to call it. And see if those two adjustments, that is lifting the base of the skull and dropping your breath down, in what way do they influence the Ferris wheel of your mind? And if the answer is not at all, then it's possible that the density of your mind is more in the foreground, and the subtlety of your inner body, like the bandhas, the doshas, the koshas, the vayus, that's a little bit more dulled or obscured by the density of the mind, may seem a little bit less accessible. So let's observe for any changes that go along during the course of the practice. without forcing your in-breath. See if you might get 3 longer, smoother breath cycles below your navel. And please raise your hands to your heart. As we practice, may we see clearly between that which is real and true and that which is not so real and not so true. May we understand the distinction between that which is luminous and that which causes us to have dullness or forgetfulness. And may we also know the difference between the finite and the infinite. Om Asatoma Sadgamaya Tamasoma Jyotirgamaya Mrityorma Amritam Gamaya Om Asatoma Sadgamaya Tamasoma Jyotirgamaya Mrityorma Amritam Gamaya Om Asatoma Sadgamaya Tamasoma Jyotirgamaya Mrityorma Amritam Gamaya Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Shri Guru Pyo Namaha Hari Om. You may bow your head to your heart. And release your hands and open your eyes. So the practices that we'll move to, each one of them has a little consideration. We can call it the aperture. So the aperture is the aperture through which you are breathing. Think of it like the aperture on a camera or a lens, a microscope even, like how large or open is the aperture. And in pranayama, the more refined the aperture is, the slower the breath tends to be, and then the more powerful and subtle the experience tends to become. That being said, if we struggle with things like anxiety or breathlessness, or we are shallow breathers or over breathers in daily life, when we go to close one nostril and narrow the aperture of the inhale, some people feel that they're not getting enough air. Or if we narrow the aperture of the exhale, they'll feel like they can't exhale quickly enough. And those would be hints at the state of the biochemistry in the body, that the biochemistry may not be in homeostasis. It may have acclimated to higher levels of CO2 in your system. In other words, your blood cells holding on to the O2 and not having a proper exchange between what is coming in and what is going out. So to prepare for this like refined aperture experience, what we're going to do is some techniques that help us to release the breath, to reset O2, CO2 balance. And then we'll explore these practices that have you with a little more narrow aperture for the breath. So right where you're sitting, take your hands out over your knees and stabilize your seat. So I'm going to ask you to sense that you're not jolting your body with each of the exhales we're going to do. but rather that you're sitting and there's a quality of stability from the pelvic floor supporting the stability of the whole spinal column. And close your eyes. And we're going to begin with 5 strong exhales out through the mouth, 1 long exhale. Then we will inhale to hold the breath for a few moments, and then exhale slowly out the nose. So the first 5 exhales, the 1 long exhale, are all mouth exhales. Then it's a nostril inhale and a nostril exhale. During the inhale suspension, lift the base of your skull. So you're going to tone the front of the throat, lift the chest and the heart, snug the low belly in and up. And then before you exhale, release those activations. They're called bandhas. And then exhale smoothly and completely to the end. And relax. Okay, and let's repeat that. And always release the bandhas before you exhale. Deeply relaxed. And we're going to do more rapid exhales out through the nose, rhythmically. You can think of this as Kapalabhati. So it's exhale, 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 exhale. A little bit of in-breath will happen, but you're not coordinating that part. You're just doing the exhale, exhale, exhale. And again, your body should not feel like it's jolting with each exhale, but rather the stability that comes from the pelvic floor. So it's toned just enough that your body is not jolting, and it should not feel like on the exhale, the pelvic floor is going down, 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 but rather that it's stable, not tight, not, rigid, but stable. Okay, so this will be about 30 exhales. We'll start with that, and we'll have a long exhale. Inhale through the nose, hold, exhale through the nose. This is all nose breathing this time. Okay, let's see how it goes. Exhale. Inhale slowly. And then suspend. Release the bandhas before you exhale. Exhale through the nose, slowly and relatively completely. No need to be forceful. No need to be forceful because it won't be helpful, but also it can end up creating a pranayama habit that you're going to regret. And we're going to repeat that, and anybody who wants to do 30 can stay at 30. If you'd like to go to 60 exhales, you're welcome to follow me there. That'll be based on your experience level. If you go to 30, of course, then you inhale and exhale completely, inhale, suspend, exhale, and then just rest, pause in the experience. There'll be an echo that follows your practice. Let's begin. And then exhale thoughtfully. Inhale slowly and completely, lower, middle, and upper thirds of the torso. In your own timing, release the bandhas and exhale. Rest in the echo of the practice in your mind and your body. Invite yourself to be upright and alert, but also deeply relaxed. Now I'd like us to do another practice that helps to regulate O2, CO2. It's also going to give you a little bit of spinal movement, and that can be helpful for those of us who are not accustomed to sitting in meditation, though it does get easier. And when you practice, it doesn't become more rigid, but just more natural and relaxed. So in this practice, we're going to be inhaling through the nose and exhaling out through the mouth like you're holding a small straw between your lips. In this exhale, the aperture of the exhale is going to be pressurized. In fact, you are a pressurized organism. There's a pressure system operating. That's what lets you breathe in and breathe out. And we live in a pressurized environment. That's why there's cabin pressure on an airplane, right? So you're going to narrow the aperture of the exhale, causing it to change the pressure of the release of the exhale. A little bit like how you operate the neck of the balloon when you're releasing the air. It'll look like this. I'm showing you that there because we're going to do an inhale where we go from Jalandhar Bandha. We're going to go up, open the chest, the heart, and the throat. And then the exhale, we're going to come forward and down. And that means that you can have your hands on your knees, or you can walk your hands out on the floor, or you can, if you're sitting in a chair, you're going to have your hands on your knees and you'll come down to the space between your knees and thighs. Okay, so the reason we're going down is that you're going to use the forward bend, the flexion of the body, to use the abdominal muscles to facilitate the exhale, so it leaves more easily. Okay, so place your hands out over your knees. Let's start with gazing down so you have a sense that it's inward and purposeful. And then with your in-breath, start from the low belly and raise the breath up through the mid-torso, your heart. Lift your chin, open your throat. And then exhale, blow out through the lips as you come forward. Squeeze the torso into forward flexion. Release the breath completely. And then simply use your hands to press yourself back up to sitting. Right, so that's one breath. And then we just use the hands and arms to bring ourselves back to sit. And then we'll do another round. Okay, so let's do it together. Here's the inhale. And follow your pace for your exhale. And then press against your knees to come back up to sitting. Let's do it 4 times more, okay? At your pace, only at your pace, not at mine. You might notice how long the exhale is and bask in that. Don't strive, but enjoy. And when you finish the last one, then go ahead and rest in a kind of basking in the echo. Lift the base of your skull so your gaze is a little down in towards your heart. And listen for the possibility, a little bit of mental quiet, like you're already piercing through the mental mumbo jumbo. Okay, now we have explored changing the aperture for the exhale, and the exhale is then made longer. Now we're going to explore something that will prepare us for Nadi Shodhana and Surya Bedhana and Chandra Bedhana, which we'll do Surya Bedhana, then we'll do Chandra, then we'll do Nadi Shodhana. So here's the experience that I have as a yoga teacher with students when I was recently teaching an in-person class at Brighton Bush Hot Springs, and we were doing Nadi Shodhana, and I had suggested to them, okay, close one nostril and inhale, left side only. And you can hear in the room that many people, their breath is audible. They go, so they're taking the breath in through the left nostril, but it's like a chest breath, but through the left nostril. And so it makes a sound as the air is moving through the nostril. It's a little bit of a loud sound, loud enough to hear it across the room. That's not how I'm going to ask you to breathe. I want your breath to be cultivated towards a more and more subtle inhale. It's like a whispering sound. To help you cultivate that whispering sound, we're going to close both nostrils partly. And when you do that, you'll use this mudra, Gyan Mudra, to close both nostrils partly. So the inhale aperture is going to be smaller. Now, there might be some sounds of the nostrils if you have mucus and so on, that's natural. But I want you to think about, as you close the two nostrils part way, your diaphragm is going to pull down to create the inhalation against the resistance of this little closure. In fact, in Western breath science, this is called inhale resistance or resistance inhale. In Sanskrit, in yoga pranayama, it's called Pratiloma Pranayama. So see if you can help the breath to be slower and also quiet, like a whisper. We'll use the inhale. Exhale is like sighing. You don't make any big deal on the exhale, just let it be like a sigh. Okay, so take your hand like so, first two fingers in, thumb and ring finger for the nostrils. Close them each partly and inhale slowly. And then exhale like you're sighing, if you haven't yet exhaled. So I know the first time you're doing it, you might wonder, well, how much do I close the nostrils? What am I doing? You're going to close just enough that you've created resistance for the inhale. You don't want to close so much that you can't inhale, and don't cause yourself to feel breathless. But one thing you might be discovering is your diaphragm may or may not be really conditioned for breathing. If you've become a chest breather or you are chronically stressed in certain ways, you have chronic inflammation. So we're going to be toning the diaphragm. You may find that this gets easier and the diaphragm gets more supple and stronger once again. Okay, so let's try it 5 times total. Close your nostrils partway, inhale slowly at your pace, and follow that inhale with a relaxed sigh. Then rest before you do the next one. Like, give yourself a few moments to acclimate before continuing. Imagine that each breath includes the lower torso, mid-torso, upper torso, lower lobes of the lungs, middle lobes of the lungs, the upper lobes of the lungs. When you feel like you've done that about 5 times, you can then relax your right arm down. I'm just doing 3 so I can keep pace with you. And we'll rest in quiet. When you come down, in your own timing, don't rush it, then rest in simple quiet. So when we're placing the hand like this particular mudra, we curl the first two fingers into the center of the palm because they tend to be stronger fingers than your ring finger and your pinky. The thumb is also stronger than the ring and pinky. So we put them together to kind of have an equal and elegant amount of pressure. You're going to place your thumb and ring finger where the bone of the nose becomes cartilage. If we place it at the end here, we have to work more. We have more to close because the opening is up here where the bone becomes cartilage. So just make a very gentle amount of pressure in Nadi Shodhana to close one nostril and to have the other one be open. So in Pratiloma, for example, which we were just doing, you can place your fingers very gently high up on the nose there, not down at the tip of the nostrils down here, but where the cartilage becomes bone, and make a tiny closure. And in that tiny closure, the inhale is slowed down. You're placing your fingers there. For some people during Pratiloma Pranayama, it's going to feel more doable if you place your fingers where they'll be for Nadi Shodhana, but slide them slightly forward so that you've created this closure, but not so significantly that you feel like you can't get the breath in. This is based on the shape of your sinus cavities and your nostrils and your face bones. So explore where that place is for you, where the inhale is slowed down, but it is accessible. The exhale, then you're going to release the pressure of that against the nose, but keep your hand where it is because moving it up and down becomes actually distracting. And during the exhale, you're sighing out through the nose. It's like a little moment of relief, the releasing of the exhale breath. Okay, so let's try that twice more because it's a stepping stone on the way to Surya Bedhana, Chandra Bedhana, and Nadi Shodhana. So make your hand like so and bring it up. So where you touch the bone where the cartilage is and check for yourself. Do you feel like you can have some inhale resistance right there? Or is it better for you to slide your fingers a little forward? And for me, that's my preference in Pratiloma Pranayama. In Nadi Shodhana, I put it closer to the bone. Okay, so let's try that for 2 inhales. Remember that during the exhale, you breathe out through the nose like you're sighing through the nose, and there's no pressure on the nostrils. And then again, when you finish those 2 breath cycles, allow yourself to rest, just noticing the echo of what is occurring. Invite your body to acclimate. So there's a kind of homeostasis that you drop down into. Okay, and now we're going to practice Surya Bedhana. And the word Bedhana means piercing. And so in this case, we're going to pierce the sun. What it means is that you're piercing the sun, the Surya, in the nadis, so the subtle nervous system. So as we inhale through the right nostril, that is considered more heating. Then you're going to exhale through the left nostril. And that's all we'll do. We'll inhale right, exhale left, inhale right, exhale left. To make this possible, your same mudra, your ring finger and pinky will close the left nostril completely now when you're inhaling on the right side. No pressure on the right side is needed. As you're learning this technique, certainly no pressure on the right nostril. After the inhale, you're going to close the right nostril and exhale on the left side only. And so think about that as you're breathing in, it's going to nourish your left brain. So it's a stimulating pranayama. When you're breathing out, we want it to calm the right brain. Okay, when you inhale with the right nostril, you actually are eliciting a little bit of sympathetic nervous system arousal to be a little more present, a little bit more alert. Exhaling through the left nostril, quieting the right brain. So you may find that you have the mental acuity to feel like you can meditate. You bring the last two fingers, together with the thumb up against where the bone becomes cartilage. Let's close the left side completely but gently and inhale right side. And then close your right nostril with your thumb and exhale on the left side. Keep your hands and fingers close to the contact points here, but let the left nostril open. Then close your left nostril, inhale right side. And then close the right nostril, exhale left side. Of course, you're going to breathe at your own pace. I'm going to ask you to try this about 7 or 8 times more and see if breath to breath in time, you could balance your inhale with your exhale. So they're going to be equal in length. As you aim to balance your exhale length with your inhale length, if you need to slow down your exhale to balance those out, slow it down in the first couple paces of the exhale. Don't wait for the end, but rather focus on that slowing down at the beginning. Allow the end of the exhale to be more relaxed and less pressured. We'll do one more. When you complete, you can rest your right hand back in your lap. Notice the after effect of the practice and its influence also on your mind. And as students of yoga, be very curious about how this feels. It's called Surya Bedhana. We're going to practice its opposite, which is called Chandra Bedhana. So take in your experience here. And now we'll check in with Chandra Bedhana. So we'll inhale left nostril only. We'll exhale right nostril. So now we're stimulating the moon, the Chandra experience, which is more reflective, more receptive, a little bit cooler. So Surya Bedhana is considered a heating pranayama. Chandra Bedhana is considered a cooling pranayama. And let's say we get into a heat wave in Portland in the summer, you'll want to practice more Chandra Bedhana, not more Surya Bedhana. Or if your mind is overheated with frustration, irritation, constant sense of pressure and doing things, you probably want to switch it up and go to Chandra Bedhana and have it as like a bit of daily medicine for the too fiery mind. It's okay to have mental fire, the wisdom of the mind, the light of the wisdom of the mind. Even determination is recommended in yoga, and fortitude and focus, all these things. But it's not so helpful to have the mind be like on fire, or the phrase hair on fire. That wouldn't be so helpful for yoga goals. Might be for something else, but not for yoga. So bring your right hand, and now you're going to start with the right nostril closed with your right thumb, and you'll inhale left side only. Exhale right side only. Go back to inhale left side only. As you aim to balance the length of the exhale with the length of the inhale, focus on lengthening the first portion of your exhale, not waiting until the end of the exhale. We'll do about 5 times again. So perhaps at your pace, you have one more to do. Perhaps you have 2. When you complete, and you can rest your right hand back in your lap. And notice any distinct difference or the quality of Chandra Bedhana relative to Surya Bedhana. In each case, the inhale has some resistance. The aperture is made smaller. So you are conditioning your diaphragm to do the breathing. We, by the way, are not using Ujjayi breathing in this practice, right? It's not the Ujjayi is a different practice. This is simply the inhale coming in silently, like a whispering, easeful quality. The length of your in-breath will be unique to you. And when you're trying to balance your exhale with your inhale, it's a practice to cultivate that slower exhale at the beginning of the exhale breath. Now we're going to combine these two, and then it's called Nadi Shodhana. Nadi is the nervous system, the subtle nervous system, and Shodhana means cleansing. So we do use the right hand again. Maybe you feel, oh, my right shoulder is getting tired. That will get better, by the way. We use the right hand because the place from where yoga tradition comes, in that country, the left hand is used for other things, and the right hand is used for pranayama and also for eating. So it's considered the hand for the Nadi Shodhana. Now, of course, I have had students who have amputations, or they've had a stroke, or for some reason they cannot use the right hand and they have to use the left, and we make some consideration. But traditionally speaking, classically speaking, it's the right hand for Nadi Shodhana. Okay, so now this is going to be inhale left nostril first, and that's because the left nostril will stimulate your parasympathetic nervous system. Then we'll exhale right nostril, we'll inhale right again, and we'll exhale left. That's called one round. It begins on the left and it ends on the left. This is my left. Okay, so you change the nostril after the inhalation. And the length of your breath is going to be unique to you. Still try to balance out your inhale with your exhale. Okay, bring your right hand up. Continue at your pace, balancing inhale with exhale. We'll do 2 more rounds, which will be 4 breath cycles altogether. I realize that my breath is often longer than yours. So when you have your next exhale through the left, you go ahead and pause there. And I'll pause myself here too. And you can again sit quietly in the echo of what is happening for your mind. Sit quietly in the simple echo. And kind of reflect in or bask in the echo. Trust that your body has enough oxygen right now, so your breath might become imperceptible or deeply quiet. Remember that we're trying to pierce through the mind to come back home to the Anandamaya kosha. Also coming back home to Vijnanamaya kosha, this indwelling collective wisdom. You know, pranayama is a tool to help you arrive at meditation. So as if you had used a canoe to cross a river. Now you don't stay in the canoe, you're sitting on the riverbank. We're not doing pranayama. We are now simply resting. And for the quiet that is deeper than thought, the space more expansive than mental habit. And raise your hands then to your heart, palms together in Anjali Mudra. You might even think of that as bringing together left and right into the center. And appreciate yourself for the efforts you made in the practice, particularly if these are new techniques for you. And with an exhale, you can bow your head to your heart. And release your hands. And when you're ready to, you can open your eyes and just sort of take in the world around you and imagine, like, how would society be if we were able to pierce through the mental mumbo jumbo? Remember the Dharma talk that we had last night about that mental train of stuff that in the Manomaya kosha is blocking humanity from really knowing itself, and then blocking us from knowing each other in a deeply respectful way. So imagine looking about the world now from a place where you've made contact with that which is deeper than the mental mumbo jumbo. Thank you. Thank you for sharing your practice. As always, if the practice is helpful to you, if you have questions, please like, comment, subscribe, and let me know what other ways I can help you with your yoga practice or your pranayama practice. I'm very glad to do so. Thanks again for being here. Namaste.